Lovely. That was really great. I had to go right over to that. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Antonia Bennett. Hello.
Hi, Cathy.
I'm going to cut up and paste a little while we're here too, so don't mind if I'm looking around a little bit. I had to see that shot of you guys singing. That was in Helsinki, right?
I think so. I don't know who posted that, but yeah, we used to do this little number, Old Friends, in his show, and we toured all over Europe doing it, and all over the States, and it was fun.
That's great. How long did you sing with your dad? Like you opened up for him mostly, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to come and sit in with him in the summers and the winters, and then I started opening up for him, after I was done with school. So over 20 years, we were working together, um, doing that. And when he wasn't headlining with, Lady Gaga or somebody else.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I am sorry. My internet is acting up today. Sorry, I know you can hear me. My my internet is acting up today. So sorry about that.
No worries.
Um, yeah, I don't know why. I'm going to have to work on this today. But anyway, but you and I are here. So I did hear that when you said that you would go and sit in with him when you were a kid, and then when did you start actually performing for him, like opening up?
When I was in school at Berkeley, I started in Boston, Berkeley College of Music. Um, I started kind of, doing longer sets with him and stuff, at like the Cape Cod Melody Tent or at venues close by, Mohegan Suns or something like this. And then after college, really, I started working with him on a more regular basis, on and off. And then I just started doing it all the time, whenever he wasn't headlining
Ladies
with
and
somebody
gentlemen,
else.
yeah, yeah, that was fun. So you went to Berkeley. I forgot that.
I did.
Yeah. Um,
You're from Massachusetts originally, right?
I am, and I went to Berkeley too, but a ways before you did, I think.
Well, that's okay. I now there's all these kids coming up, and I went to school a ways before them, so it happens.
Did you go for singing or
I
something?
did. I went for voice. I mean, professional music was the major that I think they call it something else. I forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, which was, a cross between performance and um, I think music business, a little bit of music business.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like you benefited from it?
Absolutely. A matter of fact, I've been taking online classes at Berkeley since COVID started, and I really like their online. They have a really great online classes and stuff, and I'm taking a couple of music business courses and music therapy classes, and it's really interesting and much different from when I was there because obviously the business has changed so much. So, and I've just been periodically doing that, and really enjoying it.
That's interesting. Well, I have a few friends who are teaching there, but Chris Adams, do you know her?
I don't
She's
know her.
actually a vocalist, but she actually teaches theory too online.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a really great online system now. It's been 3 or 4 semesters that I've been kind of just one or two classes a semester. And, COVID really, I just started doing that during COVID. But now, even though things are getting a little bit back to normal, I still am continuing to do it. And I really want to potentially get my master's in music therapy. I think it's a really interesting subject. I don't know if I'll do it because I don't know if I want to be in school like forever. But Berkeley has a great program, but they don't offer that degree online. And I'm not going to be moving to Boston, so I don't know why, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of options out here for that in Los Angeles. It seems kind of strange to me.
It does seem strange. Like even you'd think maybe even UCLA would have something like
I
that.
would think so. I think Northridge has a program, but I have heard not wonderful things. And so I heard that NYU has a great online program where you go once a month, which would be great for me because I have family there and I could kind of kill two birds with one stone, family
Oh,
and friends.
yeah.
But I haven't made that jump yet. Like I haven't,
Totally
it's just,
committed.
I'm just like dipping my foot in. It's been so many years since I've been in school that I really like the online learning because there's no tests. Terrible. So far, at least at Berkeley, it's all based on projects. And so each week you have like these projects and then you submit them. That's better for me if I can write a paper. And in a way, I learn it better because I do the research and then a lot of it is you have to kind of do on your own. For me, that really works.
Yeah.
The classes, that kind of learning works better for me than being on a test. I never was very good at taking tests,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Tests, it's kind of a weird way of
It's
learning.
stressful,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't know at this age if I want to be that stressed out. I've already got enough stress.
Oh gosh, that's funny. I mean, not funny, but funny. Yeah, I've been taking, well, I dropped out of the class because I wanted to take the class again later, and the proper way to do it would be to drop out. So, but I did take a few months of class from a great pianist online from Fullerton College, Jeremy Siskind, and a few like people you probably know, Luther Hughes, the bass player, Paul
Hmm.
Krivik, drummer. They were in the class too, and I was very uh, what's the word? I was I was I can't think of the word. Anyway, it was kind of comforting to know that they were having the same exact problems that I was, because I can play chords in my right hand, and like a little very simple bass thing and but this was chords in the left hand with
Oh, wow.
comping patterns and the melody in your right hand at the same time.
I mean, I guess that's okay if you're like left-handed.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know either. It takes, I mean, I know all it takes is doing it again and again and again. I know
Right.
that. It,
Practice.
but then things started escalating in my life. I had this project I was working on. I really needed to learn the music well,
Right.
and, you
I mean,
know,
that's it, just trying to fit in the learning,
yeah,
which is obviously something that I really like. I'm interested in a lot of different things. And sometimes it really gets in my way because it's hard to focus in on something.
yeah,
And I think, with life, your life, it's so much harder now that I'm older because I really have to carve out the time.
yeah.
And it's
And you
not
have
like
a young child, right?
I have a 5-year-old. Yeah, well, no, she's going to be 6 on May 28th. So, yeah.
Yes, that's my birthday.
Is it really? We
Yeah.
have the same birthday. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're
Wow.
welcome to join us at Color Me Mine for her birthday.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Well, happy birthday to you.
thank you, and her too. That's so cute.
It is. Yeah, so she's something else. and it's great fun, but you put a lot of energy and effort into the ones that you love, and you have to just make time for the things that are important to you, but you really have to choose.
Yeah, you really do.
Hmm.
Yep. And you just can't do everything.
Right. And so, the one thing I like about Berkeley's system is that the classes are not live. I mean, they have one live class a week, but it's not mandatory that you make it, and it goes up after, they post the video after. And so that really works great for me, because if I want to get my work done at 2 in the morning or at 5 in the morning, I can do it then.
Yeah.
And I hold strange hours, and you know
That's cool.
and
So, and are you using, thanks, Joyce. She said happy birthday. Are you using, are you using the business information that you've
well,
acquired?
I haven't, but you know what? I'm taking this semester a music publishing class, and it's been really good because as I shared with you earlier, I'm not really too great with administrative things, and there are things that I just never do. Like I never, put everything in a folder, and their whole thing is if you write a song, the day that you write it, you write down the day, the time that you wrote it, you start a file. When you demo it, you write the day and the time that you demoed it. You write down who you wrote it with. You write down their publishing companies, what your splits are, and you put it in a folder along with any kind of hard copy that you might have on a hard drive or whatever, and then you also make sure you have it on metadata, or if there's a Pro Tools time and date, you put that down, all of that kind of stuff. And again, I'm really terrible at that because it's really the last thing I want to focus on. I've always been just so much about the music, and everything else I really don't feel like dealing with, but it's important stuff to have. And so for me, it's been very, very useful.
Yeah.
And also to really just understand how all the splits work and everything like that. Who gets what, who pays you for what, the different kind of licensing and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, you know it, but then you don't really, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
obviously,
I think that's great. I mean,
yeah.
and I know some, but I don't know a lot, and it's not super, super clear. As a matter of fact, I have this guy who basically licenses my music, except there's no kind of action. But he is the guy. But I'm always asking him these licensing questions, and I'd like to find out about that because I think licensing. I actually created a workshop for the California Jazz Foundation with this
Hmm.
guy, Dennis Treeth, and it was supposed to be in March, but then we moved it to June. So, but the thing is, I think that all of our friends should take this class.
I feel like it should be a mandatory class at Berkeley. It's not
Yeah.
hard, but it's very informative.
Hmm.
And I really feel like everybody should know how to do it. Are you an ASCAP or BMI
I'm
writer?
BMI.
So, I mean, you can learn a lot of this information for free,
Yeah.
if you really go and,
Yeah. Yes.
but I like the system of it because those assignments, I would never, if somebody didn't make me do it, I would never do it. I'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm going to listen to some record that I want to listen to, or I'm going
Yeah.
to clean my house today or whatever. But because, I know it sounds strange, but I really wouldn't put the energy naturally into
Yeah.
that. So having a class and a system really helps me.
Yeah. I think it's great. I love it. It's inspiring, actually. It inspires me to do it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. So are you singing these days? Because it's
Well, I've
pandemic.
been singing mostly in the studio more than anything. I just finished a record. It's in the can now. I have to have it mixed and mastered still and then release it. But I haven't been doing very much live work. I'm starting to think about gigs, setting up a little tour in the summer, maybe, at Blues Alley and some New York clubs and stuff like that. So I'm starting to kind of step out of it. There've been a couple things that I've done here and there, but it's been so different because for me, my father retired, so I had that kind of standing gig with him, and I was doing a lot of gigs in the cities that I would go to. If I knew that we had a night off, I would just book my own gig there and things like that. And so that's really shifted because I'm home more, and I've been enjoying being home with my daughter and everything like that. But I do really want to start performing out more, and also maybe to just get something local because it's nice to be at home, you know. But I'm sure that will change too because I've spent, for me personally, because I've spent so much time on the road in my adult life that it does feel kind of strange to be in one place for so long. I've never actually been in one place for so long as I have during this COVID time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I know. There were other people I talked to about that. Judy Carmichael is a great stride piano player, and she was on the road. She was never home more than 2 weeks. Never.
yes, I understand that.
Kind of flippy, it's strange, definitely
When
strange.
you're used to that, it's even, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of friends who got divorced during COVID, you
Really?
know. Yeah, I
Oh my
think,
God.
or the relationships got stronger, or they
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they and I understand it because all of a sudden you're living together and couples are working from home together, and it's a whole other dynamic. And
Yeah.
so I guess for a lot of people, maybe they realized they didn't have that much in common, or it just wasn't working, or I don't know what. Um, but I definitely think that being home all the time changes dynamics, and finding just even a place to work. I actually did a lot of work on the road, not just like the
Oh,
shows, but just
yeah.
practicing and whatever, because I had the room to myself, and
Yeah.
it was easy to kind of just, focus on myself during those times. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely different when you're living in a house full of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And people are kind of demanding. You have your daughter is
Sure.
demanding. And maybe your husband is a bit demanding too. Yeah, I kept saying through the pandemic to my husband, it's really good that we like each other. Because
It's
and we
great.
were getting to see each other more because before the pandemic, I was going out a lot more,
Sure.
because I
Yeah.
do that.
And I've started going a little bit and going out and listening to music, and I really want to go and hear more music. So I wake up so early now with Maya. I feel like, and I don't know how that happened because now I feel like I wake up at the same time I used to go to bed, and it just happened. But um, I find it hard to go out at night and hang out because I get tired.
Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling too. I've been going out a lot. If you ever want to go out.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Let's make a plan and do
Okay.
that.
Okay. There's so much great music happening right now. It's you know, um, yeah, it's just there's a lot of places happening. I hope it just, holds and continues.
I think people are really, I think a lot of people are really, even though COVID is still out there and you can still catch it, but I think people are really just, they're craving it. They're craving
Yeah,
human contact and
I think so too. You can see it also when you go out. You can see people are just it's like they're more open
mhm.
and they're kind of they want they want a moving experience, you know.
Absolutely, and a human experience because we've been doing these concerts on Zoom and and I don't think that that's going away. I think that cat is out of the bag, and people like that too.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely think that people are ready to be around people again.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, I have one. You probably don't. I bet you don't remember this one. Here's my friend Dan Davila posted a you and singing with Les Paul.
Oh, really? Well, Les and I were friends. We were really good friends. And I mean, there's probably lots of videos of me singing with Les over the
Really?
years. Yeah, I used to go there every Monday night when I lived in New York, and we would hang out. And, after his shows were done, he'd call me at like 4 in the morning, and he'd say, you should try this when you sing that next time. And what you need is a hit song. And, I mean, he was cool. He was really nice with not just me, but with a lot of friends that we would go and hang out there and play. And he was a great
Well,
guy.
you want to watch a little of this one? It's very short. It's less
Okay.
than 3 minutes. And you, boy, look how cute you are there.
Just a baby.
Oh my God. That is adorable.
There will be many
Wow.
nights like this. It's in C. When I'll be standing here with a smart ass. Someone new. There will be other songs to sing.
Look at you. You're so sassy.
Another spring. There will never be another you. There will be other lips that I may kiss, but none will thrill me like yours used to do. I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true if there will never ever be another you?
Adorable. Oh my God. I can dig this tempo, man.
I like those medium tempos. There will be other lips that I may kiss, but none will thrill me like yours used to do. Oh, I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true if there will never ever be? There will never ever be. There will never ever be another
Oh,
you.
oh, cool. Oh man, that is adorable. And that was the I don't know if you remember who this guy looks familiar, the guy on the left of the guitar player.
Yeah, he was always there. He always played. But you know who he looks like? The
Who?
guy from Lost in Space.
Oh, well, that
His
I
name was
did.
Lou Paulo.
Okay.
He was a great guitar player. He played great rhythm guitar for Les all those years. He would play rhythm.
Oh, okay.
Les would play lead.
Yeah. I used to love singing with guitar groups, more than one guitar. I love guitar. Guitar
And that
is
was Frank Fignolia, I think, on the end there.
okay. Yeah. Do you like singing with guitar or
Oh,
piano?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I like singing with pretty much any instrument. If they depends on the way they play, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I like a lot of different textures and colors, and you know,
Yeah.
to me they could be playing anything if they play it the way I like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so eventually, I'm going to ask at least one question about you and your dad. Just what I'd like to know is how much do you think? No, that's not a good question. Like, let's be a little more specific. What would be some of the things, one or two things, that you learned from your dad just by being around, being his daughter and being around him?
I think, and I don't think I'm necessarily as good at this as he was, but he really always showed up. So he was a professional through and through. Even when he didn't want to be, he was a professional, and he had a really incredible work ethic. And he kind of had like, uh, I don't know, a psychic spidey sense of when he had to be at an event.
Huh.
Um, and he really had a good feeling for it. I mean, he didn't necessarily, you know, my dad, he'd rather just be at the Blue Note listening to like whoever he wanted to listen to. He's not that kind of guy that loves to go to parties and whatever, but he really understood that it was important for him to be at certain things. And he really, I don't know how he picked and chose it. Probably Danny did a lot of it for him, but he would show up and go to things that were outside his box or element, and he never complained, and you know, he just did it. And that really, I know it seems like a small thing, but it's not. It's a lot. It's a lot when you've been working and you're tired to just push through. And I never heard him complaining about that kind of stuff. He would just always push through and go. I mean, he never did those kinds of tours. It was like 3 or 6 month tour. He was always on the road. And I remember like the last kind of year that we were touring, they did the I Left My Heart in San Francisco tour, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this I've been doing this tour my whole life. Like, it's, he would go out and just come back home and then go out again. So he'd be out for 3 or 4 days, then he'd be home for a day or two, then he'd go out for 10 days, then he'd be back for 5, then he'd go out for, and it was always like that. It never stopped. There was never there were a couple vacations I think he took like later in life, but that didn't really happen until he was like in his 80s already, or maybe 70s. I never really remembered them ever be any vacation was really like
On
around
the road.
music or, oh yeah, a gig.
Right, right.
Um, so, that was really his mentality, and he just loved to do what he did, to paint and sing, and he kind of just always pushed through it. He always did his scales, and he I don't know, I don't know if it's he wasn't lazy at all, and he never took it for granted. He always felt like you're only as good as your last show. And so you better make sure that each show you do is
The best
really
you can
good.
do. Yeah.
I mean, I remember one time, uh, it's just like backstage at Radio City or someplace. This was a long time ago, and he had a review from the night before. I mean, I guess he was doing 2 nights or whatnot, and he had a review there from the night before, and he's like, "This is great. This is a great review." He goes, "This means that I'm going to be booked for the rest of the year." And I said, "Dad, you're already booked for the rest of the year." But that was his whole
That was
thing.
his thing, yeah. That's really great. But that is not a little thing at all, because that is the kind of stuff that forms us. We pick up on that. We're educated by that, as a child watching and being around that, we're educated by it, and it makes us who we are. So it's huge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's in this day and age too, those kind of beautiful character things are important to note and to honor, because that is a really good, it's a good human trait.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for him, it really was all about the music and about art. And those were two really important things for him. And a lot of people say, well, you're not your job, you're what it's your job is not who you are. But for him, they were, in a spiritual way, they coincided too. I mean, there was the celebrity part, yes, but even just the action of doing the art and that it comes from a spiritual place, and it is very healing. So I don't think that with artists and musicians it's necessarily true that it's both two separate things. I think it is such a big part of who you are.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah. I've always been an artist since I was born. And yeah, I did different things and I did tried to do a secretarial thing which didn't work, but I tried, and tried to do other things, but yeah, it's kind of a to me it's, music is kind of a religion. It brings me closer to God. It's something that I practice. And so, it's I could compare it to Buddhism or something,
Well, it
it's
definitely brings balance,
yeah,
and all that breathing is good for you.
yeah. And what about any musical thing that you learned from him?
Well, I don't know if you consider this music. Well, okay, so he always said, sing like you're speaking,
Uh,
and you know, don't sound like anybody else. And when you sing the words "I love you," just make sure that you mean it.
nice.
I mean, those are he wasn't very he didn't give me a lot of like technical
Yeah.
advice. He did. There was one time I was singing one song and I was always like breaking on this one high note, one big note. And he said to me something like, "Oh, you know, when you place it, don't place it here, place it here." And then I never broke on that note again. So that was the only time he ever gave me any technical
Right,
advice.
right. Well, that's cool. All the other stuff, that's great too. Are you, let's see, somebody asked if you have any solo albums out and what vocalist did you study growing up?
Oh, yeah. Well, "Embrace Me," that record is out, and it's, singers that I listen to, I guess is the question, right?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
who did you listen to growing up?
So I listen to a lot of Mildred Bailey,
Oh,
um, and Ella Fitzgerald and
uh-huh.
Rosemary Clooney. Those were probably my three top female vocalists.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of, you're gonna laugh because he's not really, people don't think of him as a singer, but Jimmy Durante. I listen to a lot of Jimmy Durante because I like that.
It's interesting.
And I watched a lot of musicals, not just in the theater, but like on the TV. Like I was really into Oklahoma. I think as a child, I had memorized. I was driving my whole family nuts. I knew every song in that musical from beginning to end. I was singing them all over the house. But yeah, I mean, there was, and I also listened to a lot of, as I got into my teenage years, I started listening to like a lot of John Lennon, and a lot of David Bowie, and who else in those days? Iggy Pop. So I had a lot of other influences too, and I listened to a lot of musicians, because I always thought that that was really important. My dad kind of instilled that in me, like you don't just listen to singers, listen to musicians too.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I listened to a lot of Bill Evans,
Oh,
a lot of Stan Getz. Um, who else? I mean, there was so many great musicians, and there were so many great musicians around. I mean,
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
kind of blessed in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forget, do you compose as well?
I do. I do, and actually on this new record that I'm just finishing, there's a lot of original tunes.
Nice. I
Yeah,
can't wait to hear those. Do you write the music and the lyrics?
I do, yeah. But I
Cool.
usually co-write with somebody else. I like co-writing.
Yeah, yeah. Can't wait to hear it.
Yes, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to get it out there into the marketplace.
You know the title yet?
Not yet. I have all the songs, but I haven't decided on.
The title.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still, as I said, I'm still have to mix it and master it and
yeah.
get it out there.
It's a process, even if you have the time and money, it's a process, It's just
Sure.
takes the time it takes and yeah. I keep reminding myself of things like your dad said, basically, and you're he probably would say this, except that he sounds like he strived for always his best self, but you're only as good as you are today, so
Yes.
it's okay, you know, and also, saying the words "I love you," saying I mean, saying it with meaning. I find that the communication, I think, is the almost the most important thing, because and to prove it, you can hear all kinds of singers who aren't that fabulous, Tom Waits or
Sure.
Dylan.
I love Tom. I mean, and he writes great songs.
Yeah, but it's his communication, right? That's the thing that grabs it.
Vibey.
Yeah, yeah. So I try and I'm trying, always trying to, you know, deliver what I really want to deliver.
True. I mean, there are those singers that have like a 5 note register, and guess what? They sing the hell out of it, you
I
know?
know.
So
Yeah,
it's important to remember that. I think everybody has something special.
yeah,
And it's important to remember to know. Well, I think also as you learn to know yourself, then you start to realize, oh, I'm pretty good at this one thing. Like, oh, this is the thing that makes me a little bit different than other people. And then you just can relax into that a little bit and trust it.
yeah, yeah. Pretty amazing, huh?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Do you contemplate what you're teaching your daughter, just like, just by living and existing, as you?
Uh, I mean, I'm just, I think I'm more like just happy every day that I got through the day. I think parenting is a really hard gig. Um, but it's also super rewarding. And I mean, I don't always feel like I'm that great at it, but I know I have a lot to give her and a lot of love to give. And so I think I was never really around a lot of kids before I had her. I never had changed a diaper or anything like that. I had her later in life. And I just try to give her confidence and structure, a little bit of structure. I think that that's really important. But I don't know about all the contemplating. I'm so tired at the end of the day. I'm lucky if I can figure out what I want to have to eat.
Later for the contemplation. Um, here's kind of a family question. Anthony said, "Do you feel you have?" It's a good question too. Do you feel you have to work twice as hard being the daughter of Tony Bennett, or do things seem to come easier for you?
Well, I mean, I think that depends. I try not to think about that. I try to just like stand in the light rather than the shadow, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Because I don't think it does much good. I mean, we kind of all been dealt like a different set of, when you sit and you're playing cards, you're all dealt different cards, and
yeah,
you kind of just have to make uh, the cards that you've got work for you. And some
yeah,
people are luckier than others, and um, but it's really, for me, it's just more about the music. Obviously I want to make a living and everything, but it's more about the music and the relationships with the people that I care about. That's truly important to me.
yeah, yeah. I interviewed Brent Fisher this week, the son of Claire Fisher, and yeah, he had a very. It was obvious. It was a very kind of balanced outlook. He grew up all around his dad, helping him from when he was
Sure.
young, and taking over more and more of the musical responsibility in certain situations, and then becoming a writer and arranger himself. And but he carries on with his dad's stuff too,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's really nice. It's great. It's just exactly what you said. It's like here's my hand of cards. Great. So what do I want to do with it? You know?
Yeah, I think that's really it. And also when you're born into a situation like whatever your situation is, it's what you're used to.
Yeah. You don't actually think about it growing up, right?
No, you don't think about it. I mean, if I didn't think about it. I knew that he was a little bit different because, my parents would do things like on Christmas, they would, Santa would come on Christmas Eve because Daddy liked to sleep in the morning, and Santa knew that he was a performer or whatever. Things like that would happen. But, so I knew that there was like something special, like clearly if Santa Claus was honoring his, but it was also normal. The thing that people would do things because they liked him for him, that seemed normal to me because that was the only thing I had been exposed to,
Yeah.
at
I
the
remember
time.
talking to Kiki Ebsen, Buddy Ebsen was her dad, and she just thought everybody's father was on TV. She didn't,
And you know what? If you grow up in Beverly Hills during that time, it was like that. I mean, I went to school with like Angelina Jolie and Elliot Gould's kids and Cheech and Chong's kids, and it was a kind of normal thing. Everybody lived close by. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald, Rosemary Clooney, they all lived in my neighborhood. They were all like walking distance from my house. You know, I used to see Fred Astaire walking to the post office every day
wow.
on my way to school.
Wow.
So it did seem kind of normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Life is interesting. Let's see. I have a few other my friend Dan, he's so good about posting stuff. Excuse me. Oh, and your website. That would be nice to just take a peek at your website.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. And this is the Embrace Me record. When did you do that record?
A while ago now, maybe 10 years ago now, or a little less, give or take.
Uh-huh. Is that coming performances?
Well, if I don't think so, because maybe I just haven't updated my website in a while.
Like December 21st, Singapore?
Oh yeah, no, that's right before COVID hit.
Oh, okay. Then you have a few unavailable videos. I'm not sure why, but that's one of those media.
Things that happen.
That's another thing that would be cool to take a course on media.
Oh yeah.
So cute. You look so much like your dad too. Wedding day. Oh. You're an actress as well, right?
Not, I mean, not really. I've done a couple of things. I
Mm-hmm.
studied when I was younger,
Yeah.
but I never really went in that direction.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that's what I had read on your bio. Um, yeah. Excuse me. I have kind of an allergy type of cough. Um, so, right, you said Rosemary Clooney. She was Rose and Ella and Judy Garland were the people that I grew up listening to a lot.
I listen to a lot of Judy Garland too. She's so great. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and I watched all those movies with her and Mickey Rooney, and I would just watch them over and over again, learn all the songs, and
Yeah. Those songs were so great in those movies. Um, let's see. I'm just thinking about what I can ask you. Um, if you, I don't know if you teach, if you were going to teach, what would you be teaching in music?
wow. I don't know. I think, teachers really they should be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because it's you have to give so much of yourself, and have so much patience and really see the raw potential in people. And I think if I was going to be teaching anything, I'd probably be more like a coach, like
Mhm.
style.
Yeah,
I could do that,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Mhm. Who knows?
What do
Maybe,
you think?
maybe I think that's good, and maybe we'll set up a workshop for you sometime. And I'll
Okay.
provide the students. I think that would be great because your experience is out the roof.
I just remember in college I worked a lot with, did you know Maggie Scott?
Yes.
So she just retired.
Just?
She's like my dad's age, or a year
Ah,
younger.
oh
She
my
just,
God.
I think she's like a year younger, so she's probably 95 now. She just retired.
Wow.
And, she was such a great coach. She had me learning like three or four tunes a week and coming in and reworking those tunes and she was so great for that. And I think, you know, it was so valuable to have her to work with her for the period of time, and we stayed friends. I still talk to her. I mean, she's such a great lady.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so cool. I really love talking to older people. Um, my husband and I watch TV to zone out sometimes. And so we watched the latest Jumanji, which Danny DeVito is in.
Oh, wow.
He has this line at the end. I guess in the beginning of the movie, he's been complaining about growing older, how that it sucks. And and then he goes on this wild adventure and is has lots of wonderful aha moments and stuff. So at the end he said about age, and his grandson said, "Yeah, I know it sucks." And he says, "No, actually," he said, "it's an honor." you know and I just thought, oh yeah, I really want that as I grow older. And there are several older people like Maggie, and who you can talk with and really get some clarity of this person looking at life with this wiseness. And no, it's you slow down, but you slow down for a reason. You slow down because you're looking, you're seeing, right?
I think so much of it has to do with quality of life, and music, it really can keep you young, for so long. And I just think, there's so much to be learned from the people who came before, and if they're willing to offer the information, then that's so wonderful. And as far as getting older, I mean, it's certainly better than the alternatives, you know.
um, do you have any favorite musicians who are kind of philosophical? You mentioned Les Paul, but like friends or people who have kind of even philosophically or spiritually taken you under their wing, and who you feel affection toward?
Well, I don't know, not really that. I mean, I have a lot of great musician friends. I do, I write songs sometimes with David Nick Turn, and he wrote Midnight at the Oasis. If you don't know who he is, and you know, he's a Buddhist and he teaches and stuff like that. And, we have really cool, deep conversations and stuff. But I think honestly, even if somebody's not on a spiritual path, again, I mean, sometimes you can feel spiritually uplifted from, the saltiest type of person just because of musically, that musical camaraderie and relationship. Almost in a way doesn't matter because it just transcends.
That's true, and even people who aren't musicians who are salty or whatever, it's still a lesson,
It's
and
all a lesson.
and we're all connected. And I just truly believe that everything we're connected to everything and everyone that we are at all aware of, you know, and that's why I've felt like that a long time. I felt like that's where my responsibility comes in as a person. So when I improve, everything that I know about improves. And
Absolutely.
when I go down, everything that I know about depletes a little. So it's another reason why, it just gives me kind of a purpose, more of a purpose.
I really think that uh, people need to understand that their thoughts are very powerful, and uh, that we don't focus on it as a society enough. But I really do believe that people can manifest things for themselves if they believe that they can. And you know, so much of it is blocking out the negativity, negative thoughts, and reprogramming yourself to be able to think positively. And but even though change is hard, and people say people can't change, I found that that's not really true. A lot of times they don't change and won't change. But if somebody really wants to change, I I truly believe that they can change,
I
that they
believe.
can change their situation, their circumstance, that they can do it.
I totally believe that too. Totally. Yeah. I was listening to something today, spiritual, philosophical, that, yeah, it was really good how it explained if something keeps happening to you, how you're attracting it. And it made me think of in my relationships earlier, as I was growing. I kept finding two things. First of all, I kept repeating the same kind of guy 3 times. He'd be a little different the second time and a little
Preaching
different
to
the
the
third
choir. So
time. Yeah. And I thought that was so interesting. That happened several times. And then also, um, like there'd be a friend of mine, and then it would have its kind of life, and then I would move on, and then all of a sudden somebody who totally reminded me of them, even in looks, and it would just really impress me, like why, or was there a reason, for that? And then I decided that it was that person was a reflection of me, and in this new moment in time, that part of me still existed, but it had improved actually, right? And it was very interesting noticing that growth.
it's um it's a really amazing thing when you finally figure out what it is that you're looking for and then actually start to desire it, in a partner, I mean, because it's so easy to go in another direction or not to be clear on it. But I think that, at least my parents, they did, of course, they didn't mean to be like this, but we never really talked about like what future looks like, or like what to have a relationship with another person, what that should look like. We never really talked about those things. And I think it's important to talk to your kids about that kind of stuff. I mean, I know this isn't music, but I think it's important to talk about like, well, what do you want your life to look like? Like, and how do you, because, then it's not just about it happening to you, it's about them like really visualizing and creating it. And, well, what about this? Oh, that's important to you. Okay, well, what about this? I think that those are all important things. And rather than just to go out into the world, and I mean, both ways work, I guess. Eventually you get to where you're going.
Yeah,
But I think to be thoughtful, not just to others, but to be thoughtful to yourself and your own life and what you want, and really to spend time thinking about it. Obviously, we don't always know what we want in the beginning, and the more that you go on and have different relationships with different people, you get a better idea of what you want and what you don't want. But I think it's good to think about it.
I do too. And listening to you and thinking about some of the people I've been interviewing. I mean, it struck me over these last 2 years that people who had ended up being musicians in the end, like now, they there was some point along the way that they realized what they wanted. Now, since we're all individuals, the way we view things are different. Some person might view it like this, it's like a direct path. Some may just kind of, I know I want this, and then be really open for things coming in. Some have a little more ego in the beginning. David Amram, who's 92 or 3, who's consistently working. He says that he got a scholarship in hangology. He would just like hang out.
Too. I got that. I got that scholarship. I think I might have a master's degree in that.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. So, but some people they really want, they really want. They visualize what they want. They're relentless. Ernie Watts was like that. Talking to Ernie Watts, he was from when he first picked up the horn. He was so determined. I just saw the Quincy Jones documentary. He was like that when he was up until he was 7. He wanted to be a mobster because of how he was growing up. Really,
I
like,
saw that documentary. It was such a great.
wasn't that incredible? And then at 7, he broke in somewhere and he found a piano and he played it and he realized, oh my God, this is what I want. So, and he was constantly going to hang out and telling people he was a writer. And, that was his like,
I
hey.
love that record he produced with, oh gosh, what is her name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Blue Gardenia. Oh, come on. Oh, why am I drawing a blank on her name? That record is so good. Oh, I can't think of her name right now. It's going to come to me like probably when we get off the thing, but that Blue Gardenia record with.
Let me see if I can see it a little. I don't know.
But he produced that record. He did all the arrangements on it.
I'm looking. Quincy Jones, Blue Gardenia. That is Dinah Washington.
Yeah. Dinah Washington.
Yeah.
That record, the arrangements are so cute. I mean, there's some funny songs on there too, like TV is the thing this year and whatever. But he did all the arrangements on that record. He produced the record. It's early, it's earlier in his career.
Was that the one that he talked about in the documentary?
It might have been.
She
But
was
that song is so great and so underdone.
Blue Gardenia.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Such a beautiful song.
Apparently, so she he wasn't quite, he wasn't at a higher level yet. He was
Hmm.
doing a lot, amongst musicians. And she said to her record company, I want Quincy Jones to arrange. And they said, no, we want somebody who's known. And she said, no, I want Quincy Jones to arrange.
Well,
And
she made a
so,
good choice because that's a really good record.
yeah, and then,
There's a lot of great tunes on there.
yeah. And this, and in the apparently, which I can't believe I've never heard, but Frank Sinatra said the record Live at the Sands with
Mhm.
Quincy's arrangements and Count Basie playing was the
That's a great
best.
record.
He said it was the best performance he had ever had.
That is a great record. That is a great record. I really love that record. And that's one of my favorite Sinatra records, and the other Sinatra record I love is the one that he did with Joe Beam. And record's great too. He's singing all bossa novas through the
Oh, I
whole
know
thing.
that one.
And the arrangements are so amazing. Those are
Yeah.
probably my two favorite Sinatra records.
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, so we have a few more people joining. Oh, Dan posted your dad and Judy Garland singing together. That must be great. Um,
They were friends.
yeah.
She
Uh,
passed away before I was born, but they were
oh,
friends. I've heard a lot of stories through the years from both of my parents about her.
that must have been really special, special relationships. Um, my Carmen Bradford, really great singer. She's was friends with Ella, so she sent me this. This is was part of a tea set of Ella's
Oh, wow.
that she gave to Carmen. So Carmen sent this to me just so I could have a little of Ella on my desk.
That's so sweet.
I know, isn't that? Um, let's see. Did you always want to be a singer?
I didn't know. I knew that I wanted to do something creative. I really love to paint and dance. The music really came, even though I hadn't had a lot of formal lessons,
Yeah,
but it was something that I just did. Like I would go and sing with my dad on stage someplace or whatever, and it probably came the most natural
yeah,
of all the things, and it seemed the most comfortable. And then as I got in, but I never really hung out with very many musicians my own age until I got to Berkeley, which was such a great experience. I think out here in California, it's harder because your parents have to drive you. It's different. It's not like New
yeah,
York or Boston or, you can kind of
yeah.
get around and it's easier. It's more of a city. This is a city, but it's more like a suburb with freeways around. You have to really commit here.
So true. I like how you say you have to commit.
It is. It's not like
You
it's just going to
do.
knock you on the face when you walk out the door. Like if you want culture here, we
Yeah,
have it all, but you really have to want it and you have to drive to it and.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Um, let's see. Taylor Hatch. Um, Taylor is a person who asks great questions, and they're always very uh, deep. And here's one, a deep one. Um, I think maybe because he goes through it himself. He's a student at UNT. He's a guitar player, and he also interviews people. Hearing you talk philosophically about how you've experienced growth, how have you dealt with overcoming negativity on yourself or even self-criticism?
That's a really hard one. And I think, I still go through it. I think, and this may not be the best option for everybody, but I'm kind of like an adrenaline type of driven person anyway. So I'm kind of a jump off the diving board or rip off the band-aid type of person. So for me, a lot of times the way that I've pushed through it has gone, kind of gone like, well, the hell with it, and just like thrust myself out there. But for years, I had really bad stage fright to the point that it would be paralyzing, and I would stand on stage and be singing, and all while I was going through the motions of singing, I'd be like, oh, that note you just sang, it sounded like crap, And then one day I just went, you know what? I'm not gonna. I don't know what happened. I just stopped doing that, like while I was doing it for the most part, And then I started to just relax into it. But a lot of that came from just growing up, And it took me a long time. It took me a really long time to get there, but I did eventually. And I think because I had kind of that rip it off like a Band-Aid mentality, that really helped, because I mean, a lot of people think like that I'm, I don't know. I go through, as much as outgoing as I am, I'm also very shy in another way. And, a lot of people don't know that about me, but I get really, really shy in certain circumstances, or super like embarrassed or whatever. But I try to just not show it on the outside. So maybe it's like an act as if thing. Act as if until
it's
you get there,
yeah.
I don't know what the answer is, and I definitely don't think that my way is the best way for everybody. But the other thing that also really helps is the positive affirmations. So like you stick on your mirror in the morning all the things you like about yourself, or whatever, even things that you don't like about yourself, but you just change it to something you like. And then you say it out loud, and I'm smart, I can, I have great follow through, and eventually, some of that stuff starts getting better. It seems like a dumb exercise, but it really has worked for me in the past.
I think it changes your synapses.
Sure.
Just does, because you don't. Well, it's basically what I was listening to today. I was telling you, yeah, it's like you're creating your reality. So if you keep saying, I sing flat all the time, then that's what is happening, because you're creating it,
Sure. And
So,
there are things that I recorded a long time ago that I think, oh, that I didn't like when I did it, and I listen to it now, and I think that's not bad. I must have been crazy. And there are other things that I listen to and I go, I still freaking hate that, or I still hate that picture, or whatever.
yeah,
It's not that things are going to just magically stop bugging you, but I think that you definitely relax a little bit. You relax, even on your self-image too. You relax in general. You're more forgiving of yourself. The things that maybe bothered you in the past about yourself are maybe things that you come to actually like about yourself, or that you recognize as a thing that makes you a little bit different or unique.
it's very nice and wise. Taylor, how do you like that? Um, well, Taylor, you came a little late, and so he's asking a question we already talked about, which was something you got from your dad. That was great. So you need to go back and listen a little earlier. And Ohio Hiroki, have you been to Japan? You probably have, right?
Yes, but never for a very long time, only for like a day in passing going. I've actually never performed there. I've only gone there to go to another place.
Mm, you should go to Japan. You should play in Japan. Really.
Well, if you walk into my dad's house, you might think that you're walking into a
Japanese.
Japanese man's apartment, because he's a big fan and has a lot of Japanese themed things in his house.
You would love it, and people would love you, and you'd fall in love with it. It'd be very nice. I think you should really.
I love the culture.
Me too. It's beautiful. Yeah. Um, let's see. Well, do you have a different answer to this than what you just said, really? Because kind of what I think you just said answers this. But he asks, if you could talk about what maturity as an artist looks, feels, and sounds like. That's a good question, Taylor.
Well, I definitely think I've gotten better over the years, but I don't know about the mature part. I still feel like pretty immature in the sense of I would like to get better
Hmm.
at what I'm doing, and so I'm still working on it. I still feel that there are things that I really should be much better at, and you know, that I'm still a beginner at within the musical box, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't think you ever feel mature, you know?
I think you
Maybe
feel.
sometimes weathered when you're tired, but I don't know if
I think we talked about it like you take a breath. It's like, oh, you know, it's you calm down, you take a breath. It's like, oh,
relax into it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, I think you're always still learning or looking or, wanting to improve. I don't think it ever stops.
I don't think so. Definitely not. Nope, it always continues on. I'm going to
But, back to the thing that when we were talking about being in school or
yeah,
being back in school, the not being
yeah,
stressed out about. I used to get so stressed out about learning,
yeah.
and I don't, well, I still do sometimes if I'm on a deadline or something, but in general, I don't stress out about it as much when I'm learning for myself. I don't
Yeah.
stress out about it. I just do as much as I can in a day. And I realize that even if I do 5 or 10 minutes of something, if I do it consistently, I'm going to get better. Maybe it's slower than somebody else, but I'll
Yeah,
get there.
because it's getting familiar with something, right?
Hmm.
And internalizing it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was talking with a student about learning words, which I actually need to take more of my own advice about it. But, you sit with a song and you think about it, and every day, if you're doing that, even if you're just thinking about what the words mean, you know, over and over.
That helps. But for me, that's not enough. I
Hmm.
actually, you know, I'm dyslexic, I have ADD and stuff. Well, a lot of the songs I sing are repetitive and short, so that makes it easier. But
Yeah.
if it's not a song like that, I really have to write it and sing it at the same time. Write it, I need to physically feel it,
Yeah.
sing it so I can hear it and feel it at the same time. I need to do everything all at once.
Have you noticed that over the years, because you started learning music when you were a long time ago, when you were young, I noticed that I had no problem learning lyrics back then. And now, even my own songs, I I
Forget.
forget. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm probably a little different than, I mean, yes. So for me, there were a lot of songs I learned I never had to, and a lot of times somebody will be like, oh, do you know this tune? And I've never actually sung it live, but I've listened to it so many times that I just know it.
Yeah.
And I will say that this is the wrong way to do it, but after you sing a song live once, if you mess it up, that's not going to happen again. You won't do that again. Like, I mean, you might do it again, but you'll never do it like that again. You'll
Yeah.
know the freaking words by the end of it. So, so there's something about standing on stage in front of people. That's how you really know that you know something. Because if
Yeah.
you're nervous and you can still remember everything, that's, a good I don't know,
Yeah.
calculator or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say that for me, I always had like auto processing and dyslexia and stuff like that. So learning lyrics always took me a little bit longer, and just I become very forgetful a lot of times. It takes me a little bit longer. But for me, having like a physical motion
Yeah.
and doing it all at once, that's like the best thing for me. That's always been the best thing for me. And I really started to do that naturally. Like even, nobody really taught me to do that. I did watch my dad. He would write his lyrics down to all of his songs like every day. Did it up until the point that he retired a few months, 1 year ago or whatever it was, he was still like writing the songs out. And I think you have to do that. Like, there's a lot of songs that I think I know, but maybe I've started changing words over the years, and then I don't remember what the right ones were or
Yeah.
not. So then I have to go back and look at it, relearn it.
Yeah,
I
me
think we
too.
all do that.
Definitely did that. Um, and Taylor, I wonder, because Taylor is on the spectrum of autism, and he was interested to hear that you have dyslexia and ADD. But
Mhm.
I wonder if when you're a musician, and it's kind of what you were just describing, it's playing through the song, you know, there's a physical and synapses are actually moving. So, and when you're a singer, it's a little more, you know, obscure, right? Or abstract rather. It's just like a little farther away. So the act of writing down is good. And I believe that classical singers for like they sit down, they get a piece of music, they sit down, they look at the music, they see where the repeats are and all that, then they write the words, and many times they're in other languages, and
It's intense. And you know what? I'm still working on sight reading. I'm still not that great at it. And but I still work at it because it's one of the best things you can do for your brain health too, is
yeah,
to sit and read music. But if I have to read in bass clef, and that's just only one clef, because those classical people, they're doing it in like all the different clefs. If I have to read in bass clef, unless it's like exactly the same as what's in the treble clef, I mean, you can just forget it. It's really hard for me to read in bass. I can do it. I understand how it works, but it's just
well, that's
challenging.
when I was studying piano. That too, by the way, bass clef in the left hand, the chords, the voicings, the comping, and add the melody in the right hand. Yeah, it's really pretty intense, man.
It's a lot going on unless you've been doing it for so long,
Yeah.
and start young and just, it's a lot. I mean, I watch my daughter and she's taking piano now. I have her taking piano lessons. She's just doing top line. I mean, she's just do like, treble, but
Yeah.
so all the songs were pretty much like chromatic or close to chromatic, or the notes were together. The little songs, just a few bars long, they have them doing in the beginning. But then all of a sudden she jumped to like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and there's spaces in between the notes. And it's so hard, she's like, I really like that song, but it's so hard, she says to me. And I'm thinking to myself, I can completely relate to that because I've been always, I get so frozen sometimes just when something's a little bit different.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get into rhythm and then you just want to focus on what you're good on, and you don't want to practice the things that you're not good at because you're not that good at it.
Right.
But it takes time. You kind of have to push through. I've never been that great at that. I
Yeah.
think I'm getting better now.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because I just am less stressed out about it.
Yeah.
Because, the negative thoughts and whatever, and the way that you beat yourself up, it actually can stop you from learning.
Yeah.
That's why I really like this whole not no test thing, and just learning because I like to learn.
Yeah.
It's
And challenging yourself coming up with the project.
right, and you can
Yeah.
work as hard on it or as not hard as whatever. You could probably not work that hard on it and do okay, or you could work as hard on it as you want to.
Yeah. There, Elizabeth Gilbert is an author who she wrote Eat, Pray, and Love. And she
Hmm.
wrote this other book later called Big Magic. And the thing that struck me was that when she was young and she decided she wanted to write, she committed to writing every day. So no matter how much or little, but every day. So there was this period of time where she realized that when she would start a project, first she'd be really excited and then she'd hit a wall and lots of self doubt and stuff, but she wrote the next day, and then she would push through it. And so she realized every time she started a project, that was the process. I thought that
So
was
for
brilliant.
me, yeah, it is brilliant. And I think doing it every day, I mean, I've heard a lot of writers, songwriters even. I mean, Jesse Harris, who wrote Don't Know Why for Nora Jones, I mean,
Yeah.
he told me that he writes a song a day, one song a day, that's the reason why he has a hit song, because he wrote one song a day. Um, but I also think for myself, like there are certain things that are really hard for me to do, especially at the piano, because I'm not a pianist, but I do want to get better so that I can move around and be a better songwriter and things like that. And there are certain things that are really hard for me to start doing. And so what I do is I get like the old egg. I know everybody has a cell phone now, but I use an actual egg timer, like the ones you have in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I set it for 5 minutes. And if it's something really tedious for me to learn, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to commit to doing this for 5 minutes. If I don't feel like doing this after 5 minutes, I'm going to stop doing it and I'll do it again tomorrow for 5 minutes. And usually, if I'm sitting there for the 5 minutes, I'm going to end up sitting there for at least half an hour to an hour. But if I don't, I really just let it go for the day. I made my 5 minute commitment and then I go.
I love that. Actually, when I was taking the piano class, that's what the teacher said. 5 minutes on this exercise. That's it. But every day. It's just that it's great. It's a great way to grow and help yourself along. I'm gonna check you out with Lionel Hampton singing "Fly Me to the Moon." Was from 2018, not all that long ago. While we're listening, first of all, if I had my brains in my head, I would have realized you're not singing with Lionel Hampton. You're singing with the Lionel Hampton Big Band. Also, I'm not going to talk while you're.
Their rhythm section, I think, on this tune.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
But they're all there because we did some other numbers. But that's Jason Marsalas and Christian Fabian on bass. Christian and I went to Berkeley together.
Oh.
And I remember when Jason was, I saw him when he was a kid playing drums. And I had no idea that he had become this incredible vibes player.
Yeah.
And that's Gate Thomas on piano. He was also at Berkeley when I was there.
Wow. That must have been fun for you.
Yeah. That was in New Orleans, I believe. Maybe?
Yeah, yes, I think it says New Orleans. Yep, New Orleans Jazz Market. And I can see now that I saw that young version of you with Les Paul, I can see there's a definite musical persona that you have, like like a rhythm, kind of a rhythm and expression that you know, pulled along the way, you know. It's very, very nice. And I
Thank
remember
you.
seeing you here performing at home. Remember that gig?
I sure do.
It was a nice
You were
gig.
there and came up, and didn't you sing that night too?
Maybe I did,
I
yeah.
think you came and sat in that night.
Uh,
That was fun.
that was. Um, yeah, that was a nice club for a minute. For a minute.
Hopefully, we'll get some more.
I think so. I think so. Oh my gosh, there's even a YouTube of your wedding.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if
I don't know who posts these things. It was probably the videographer.
oh, that's so wild. Well, let's just check it out for a second, just because I'm so curious. My wedding wasn't on YouTube.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
I can't. That's so sweet that somebody. I guess it was Win
Oh,
Productions
side by side.
Films,
Yeah,
right?
and that's been his.
Thank you.
Did it say Sportsman's Lodge? No. Did it?
Thank
No,
you.
I don't think so. It was at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Oh, I don't know why I thought that. Oh, isn't that pretty? Your wedding. Wow, it's a 10-minute video too.
Oh my gosh, we could be here for a long time.
Yeah, we'll just watch a little bit. We'll just kind of.
You asked one person, why are you smiling? What was so great? Ah, the sushi was rocking. You ask another person, why are you so happy? That band was just right on. Then you ask another person, well, why are you so
John Prue played my wedding.
Who? John Prue?
I'm just so happy.
Oh, how cute,
Same
man.
to you, Ronan and Antonia.
But I actually didn't know him at that time.
Oh,
The concept
Now
of-
we're friends.
so
So I thank you.
oh, well, that's really nice. That's sweet. That you actually can see your. It's so there, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah, John Prue. I just had a long talk with him last week or 2 weeks ago.
He's such a lovely guy.
Great, great human. Yeah, he's really wonderful. Yeah, we have a good community here in LA.
We do.
Yeah. If you go to work again, or when you go to work again, or on your record, who are you using?
It's Christian Jacob,
Oh, okay.
Coons, Kevin Axe, and Kendall Kay on drums.
Wow, beautiful band.
Yeah, it's a nice band.
Oh man.
I'll send you, even though it's not mastered yet, I can send you.
Okay.
I'll send you something when we get off the phone.
Okay,
You can
cool.
hear.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably going to be absolutely beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So if you go sing, are you gonna do a little mix of everything? You're gonna do a CD release party probably at some point, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the stuff that I'm doing, the original songs that I'm writing now, they flow very well in with standards and everything. So, yes, absolutely. I'll do some stuff from the record and some things that will sound very familiar to people
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Nice. That's got now talking about, people who are nice and musicians. All those guys, they're the best.
Sure. There's some great players here. You know, when I left New York, I felt so homesick for musicians because you just run out and see everybody everywhere. It's so easy to, and it's such a different scene here because everything kind of happens early in the daytime more. Um, but then once you get to know everybody, there's just amazing musicians here, amazing players. Everybody's great.
I know. Yeah, I always say it's an embarrassment of riches because there are so many great players here.
It's
And
true.
yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not the late hour hang kind of place, But yeah,
But that's better for me at this point in my life too, because
yeah.
I don't know I would be able to do that. I mean, I could never do what I did in New York now with my, there'd be no way.
Yeah,
It just couldn't happen.
yeah, unless she became nocturnal.
She kind of could be. I mean, I could see that happening. She has that in her, you know. I had to stop giving her naps like very early on. Otherwise, she was like up till 1 in the morning. But even if she had like a 10-minute nap, it was,
I can only just imagine. I have never had children, but I have grandchildren, from my husband's children, and so yeah, I look at their lives, and all the four kids are young. Two of them are like 6, and the other two are 9 or 10. It's pretty damn intense, man. You
it's
moms.
intense. But, I mean, as I said, like, I don't feel like I was the most natural at it because I never had a lot of experience with kids before I had my own or whatnot. But I do think you get better at it as time goes on. And, the love thing is so big that you just kind of, you know, figure it out,
Yeah.
at least for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think you said it really. It's probably true. Um, Taylor would like to know if you think, when you ask this is a question he asks of people, and it's an interesting question, and I don't even know if I've answered your question here, Taylor, but if you could name one record that you think is underrated, which one would it be and why? I have to really think about it.
Underrated? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I guess it's one of your favorite records that maybe isn't hugely popular, right?
I feel like all the records I listen to are those records for the most part. Um, I don't know because hugely popular in the jazz world or in general.
Well, he didn't say anything about jazz. He just said one record that you think is underrated. I know musicians I think are underrated.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I like those Nat King Cole trio records.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're underrated, but they're not definitely not overrated. They're not like that popular. I
Yeah.
mean, I love that like Miles David Ballads record because he plays so nice on that record and it's just like laid back. It's not uh,
Not burning or whatever.
mellow. I like that. I also, that Sinatra, well, Sinatra again, I don't know if you can say
He's
underrated.
underrated. Yeah.
I just really like that Bossa Nova record. I mean, a lot of people like, his more swinging stuff. And for me, there's a couple things that he does that I think are just so sincere that I just really love to listen to. Like his version of All Right With Me straight out of the movie because there's so many versions of that song, everybody's singing it so fast or whatever. But man, I mean, and underrated, that's hard to say because again, it was in a movie, but I think when you think of that song, you think of it probably, a lot of people think of it as a more up-tempo tune, but I
Did you
don't.
sing that as a ballad in the movie?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can just, hear the sincerity there. So I mean, again, I like all this stuff that is not the most popular versions of things anyway. I think I kind of gravitate. I don't know what's wrong. I mean, I can hear something and say, "Oh, this will probably do well," or "This will
Yeah.
be popular."
Yeah.
So I understand why, but yeah, I mean, I like that. There's just so many records that I like that maybe are not that popular. It's hard to choose one. I don't know.
Do you
My
find
dad told me
yourself?
once, he said, those records he did with Bill Evans, And
Yeah.
he used to say, well, the record company considered those records a failure because they didn't make any money at the time. And he goes, but guess what? Everywhere I go, anywhere in the world, somebody walks up to me and says that they love those records. And he says, and now those records are cataloged for those companies and they're still making them money. So even though it wasn't considered a success, to me, that record was a huge success. So I guess it's all the way you look at it, right?
Yes. As a teacher and a singer, those records, those are amongst a handful of classic records that you must listen to. You must
Well,
listen to.
and at the time that those records came out, they were underrated.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just never know.
Yeah. 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 Incredible. The other records, Johnny Hartman and John Coltrane, those are like, you want to hear some great phrasing and very, I wonder how that was at the time, if that was like an underrated record or not. But because
The Johnny
Johnny,
Hartman, John Coltrane
yeah,
record?
yeah,
I don't know.
I
It's a
don't
good
know.
question.
Yeah, because his singing was subtle, kind of like I think Ella's singing was subtle. I think she was so brilliant, but it wasn't the kind of brilliance like in your face like Sarah was. But if you listened especially with like an educated ear, you really heard what she did, and it was really high level, and
I
yeah,
love the way she sang because even though a lot of those jazz singers from that time they really like played with their tone like Sarah and Ella did too, but for the majority of the time when she sang, she really sang with her own natural voice. And if she did put an effect to it, it was just like for a passing whatever. But most of the time she had this sound very just clear as a bell sound.
yeah, yeah,
And I always really like that because, um, I'm probably naturally like a soprano. Well, now I'm probably like a second soprano, but I have a more of a soprano sounding voice. And back in those days, like, for jazz, you always felt like you had to have like a deep, low voice to be a jazz singer. But that's just like not where my voice is. And going back to the thing I said earlier about musicians, it's like really, I could play with anybody if they play if it grooves, if
yeah,
it's right. Um, and and I really think that's true. I mean, harmonica, flute, harp, whatever, bring it on. I want to hear it all.
yeah. Yeah, it's great. Nowadays, too, the one thing I do really like um, is over the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, how other instruments are coming in. They're mixing with jazz, other styles are mixing. I enjoy that. And I still think that, being a jazz musician is advantageous, because uh, of this your sensitivity, what you're listening to, and what you're able to do, but bringing in the other stuff is cool to mix it in there.
Sure.
uh,
I like it all. I like a lot of different genres of music. And if somebody's doing something that I think is cool, I don't limit it to only jazz. I mean, I listen to a lot of jazz, and it tends to always be what I come back to.
yeah,
But that being said, I like a lot of different kinds of music.
yeah. Well, how about what your dad did? I mean, I know it was kind of partly marketing, but wow. I mean, that
Sure.
literally changed the history of jazz. It changed the history of jazz, inviting all these different genre people into the game. I mean, yeah, he changed. He did. He was responsible for changing it.
I think, and Sinatra, he started with that. Sinatra did his duets records and stuff too. And I think, there's a lot of great artists out there that are really talented. And also, I mean, we've also seen like a huge influx of artists as they get older wanting to do a standards record. And it's because the songs are so freaking good. And they really mostly are concepts that most of us can relate to. And there's just a lot of meat there,
Yeah,
to chew on, I guess.
I know.
Hope there's no vegetarians. I'm offending out there. But
Oh,
no, the songs are really, juicy.
Oh, Taylor said Kenny Burrell and John Coltrane is underrated in my opinion. Yeah,
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to think of Kenny Burrell or John Coltrane as being underrated
yeah.
because
Maybe it's a
I
record.
think somebody like an Art Pepper is underrated,
Yeah,
or even like maybe Anita O'Day,
yeah.
maybe.
Well, yes, I know what you mean though. She was not, she was kind of the lower known person.
But
Ella,
that girl, I mean, her and Peggy, those girls, they had a similar sense of time, you
mhm,
know, and they really, I mean, well, she just had this thing that was like, even those really old records were silly songs like "Thanks for the boogie ride," "I'm more than satisfied," "I'm really," whatever the lyrics
yeah.
are. But those tunes were great, and "Past the Bounce" and all those. She would do all these kind of funny tunes, but in the beginning.
Yeah.
But she had a great sense of time. I only met her as an older woman, and I was
Yeah.
so shocked when I met her. I was, well, I must have been like 18 or something, but I had seen all these pictures of her like glammed out, like as this young woman. Then I
Right.
met her, she was already older, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect her to be like an older woman. But clearly, I
I
just didn't think about it.
have a
And then,
funny story for you. So, in her later performing time, when she was performing around LA, there was a place on Wilshire Boulevard that was really nice room, big and open. And anyway, she was performing there, and a lot of young people would go see her. But, and so John Prue was one of her piano players at that time. And when he went to her house at 10 a.m. for a rehearsal, she offered him an Ensure or a beer.
that doesn't surprise me.
He took the Ensure actually.
I guess what record I think is really great that maybe not enough people listen to is that Shirley Horn record, "Here's to Life."
Oh, that is amazing.
That is such a great record.
Yeah,
She sang everything so dead slow, and a lot of people who sing dead slow like that, it just doesn't translate. It's too slow.
I know.
But that was like where she lived. That was the place she lived, and I don't know why I jumped back to that. Now I'm thinking of all these records, because of Taylor's question. But
Well, Taylor,
um,
he did say actually that there is a record of Kenny and John together.
oh
So
wow,
that was his.
oh okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Shirley Horn, I always tell this story, but I don't think I've told it to you. But I was sitting in my music room and I was listening to Shirley Horn singing In the Dark. And this was how it was, right? In the dark. In the dark, right? And during that time, all alone in that room, I started blushing because I started imagining what was happening in the dark. That was her power because she was so committed to what she was doing. And that's why she could do slow tempos like that because she was so committed. The communication actually got through it.
She was something else.
Yeah. I mean,
I really
Carmen,
like
in a
her.
way, was like that as far as committing. And everybody, of course, had their commitment, but Carmen, I feel, as I grew older, I appreciated Carmen more.
I love Carmen McRae.
Her phrasing is like every word, for a period of time, I realized that every word was important to her. And then I would hear myself singing and passing over a word, and I'd say, Carmen wouldn't do that. Carmen would make that word important.
She was such a great, incredible singer.
Yeah. When I was in college a long time ago, I actually couldn't listen to much of her because I felt like she was flat. And so I kind of dismissed listening to her for a long time. And then all of a sudden I found her again and I was like, I don't hear her being flat now. And the phrasing thing was extremely impressive to me. But she really kept up on things too. As she grew, she was like one of the singers, maybe one of the only singers who, female singers who kept up on the current music and would include it in her repertoire.
She did. She had a good sensibility for that. Especially those years in the 70s, she really did a lot of
Yeah,
stuff like that. And then, I also really like um, Pearl Bailey. I mean, I saw
great singer.
this on the Carol Burnett show, and she did "Where Is Love" on that show.
Oh,
You should look for that. It is
I'll write it down.
oh, it's not out there. Like I don't know. I just stumbled upon it one night, and it is so incredible.
Yeah.
Just the way that she communicates is just so incredible.
Yeah. I think that was a lot more present in those days, um, because we weren't inundated with, you know,
And what didn't now everything has to be perfect. It doesn't matter what you sound like. When you put something out, it's all been, even the best singers use Pro Tools. Everybody pitches up, fixes thing or pitches down or whatever, edits, moves something over. Those guys, I mean, they were cutting and pasting back then, which was a lot harder, and so a lot of the a lot of things just stayed. People
yeah.
were using tape. Tape was expensive.
Somebody was telling me, I forget which person it was, but a person from a while back, um, that it might have been Ernie Watts, but because I think Ernie and I think he said that Ray Charles and him were friends from like years ago. But anyway, somebody brought in, no, it was somebody else. Anyway, they brought a tape in that they had produced Ray and somebody else. Dan, you probably remember, but they brought it into him, and they weren't that familiar with working with him, and he wanted to edit it, and he literally took out a razor and edited the tape perfectly. And the guy said he was dying. He was like, "Oh my God. I'm going to lose this tape. I'm going to lose all this money." But he didn't. It was perfect.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that was a whole art.
yeah,
Those engineers that could really do
Splice.
that was an art. I mean, kind of like, photographers too. They didn't have Photoshop. They had to make it work, and when they wanted to retouch something, it was like a whole ordeal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Um,
So even in some of those older photographs, when you look at things in a way, sometimes they're even more perfect because you don't see a wrinkle in the clothes or anything like that because the photographer or the whatever would go in and they would get the stylist would go in and get that before the picture was shot.
yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Daryl Winsman is here, and he's mentioning a few different things. He thinks you have a beautiful sounding voice. And are you a painter like your dad?
Not really, no. I mean, I did when I was younger. I
Uh-huh.
spent a lot of time painting, but it's been years since
Yeah.
I've really focused in on that. I just kind of got really obsessed with the music,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just fell off the side.
And somebody's talking about the Shirley Horn record. And I remember actually talking to Johnny Mandel about how he arranged for that and
Was
what he,
that one of the last records that he arranged? No.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was one of the last ones, but how he arranged for that one was he wrote down, this was his way of doing it. He took Shirley Horn's trio and he wrote down every note and then he arranged from that. Um, that was how he arranged. Was he a friend of your family, Johnny Mandel?
Sure. Yeah, he used to work with Dad a lot.
Yeah,
He was a nice man.
very nice man. Yeah, really nice. I really liked him a lot, and one of the heroes of our music. Yeah.
What about that movie with Suzanne Hayworth, I Want to Live? Didn't
Uh,
he do the arrangement for, didn't he do all the film scoring for that?
I don't know, but good shit.
Yeah, I think he did, and if I believe, I think it was him. And it's a like a great jazz
For
film score.
yeah,
And it was about the first woman who was sent to the electric chair. So it's very dramatic. But you could just get the record of the music. Like, you don't have
yeah.
to, if you don't feel like crying too much, you could just
You're killing yourself over the story.
skip the movie and listen to the music. It's really cool. The music are really cute, cool.
I love kind of film noir, jazz in the movies. I mean, what a
That's a
great.
really good one. Good one. I Want to Live with Suzanne Hayworth. I
Oh,
think she got nominated for that.
probably.
Maybe.
He was good at that kind of stuff. My friend Dan found Pearl Bailey on the Carol Burnett show, so he
Oh wow.
posted it. So,
Oh, good. Yeah,
yeah.
listen to that. You will love it.
Oh my God.
It's so deep.
I'm gonna bring it up, but I'm not, but yeah. Actually, we're coming to the end. And so, um, yeah, I mean, this has been super fun.
I
Again,
know.
I always say, it's like, um, even if I know people and I've worked with them, but it's just rare that you get to sit and talk for 2 hours, you know, and find out.
It's true. This is such a great, thank you so much for doing this. And we should try to do it in real life sometime. I mean, real life,
Yeah,
just us sometime, let's definitely go and hear some music. And
absolutely. I'm gonna, I'm actually going out of town because I'm going to New York and Boston, a little bit of Pennsylvania for gigs and my reunion, my high school reunion.
that's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, but when I come back, I'll have some time and then I would love to. That would be really fun. We can go to wherever, depending on the music we want to hear.
When are you coming back?
June 21st.
Okay, perfect. We'll do it.
Great.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Love you. And you're such a good person. And it's just really, it's great that, you were on here and people got to really um, feel you.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you for putting this together. And, I love getting all your emails I mean, you're so great at bringing community together. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, everybody, have a great week. And Thursday through Sunday, I usually do archives, and you can always go on my website to see what's happening. And I will say that there's just several things happening, and this is probably too early for you to join in, but if you want to, tomorrow night, Gary Brumberg is at Vitello's, and he used to live here and then he moved to Nashville. He's a very nice singer. Good, it'll be a great band. And Also, I don't even know all the details. This is terrible of me, but I'm one of a handful of people being honored at the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center from 3 to 6, and I really don't fully know what it's about, but there you go.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. And then Sunday, if anyone's really interested, I think this is going to be a brilliant concert. Do you know about the LA Athletics Club?
No.
And
I know
well,
about the New York Athletics Club. It's the same people?
probably the same family. And it's like one of the oldest private clubs in LA. It's really
Right.
beautiful downtown, Olive and 7th. And so they've been having a jazz thing for a number of years, and I've sung there a lot. But the producer has also, besides his normal Thursday night lounge gig, which is really nice, and maybe we'll go there and see the really good singer there,
I
and
would
then
love that.
that would be really fun. And but across the hall, he's been producing like a concert once a month. He had John Clayton there, he had Barbara Morrison, and
Nice.
Sunday, he's having an excellent band. It's Peter Erskine and Alan Pasqua,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's just a great band. It's from, I think 2 to 5. And if anybody wants to do it, they really should do it because it's it's easy parking because you park inside, and yeah, it's a really nice experience, beautiful experience. So there, I have blabbed my little yar. Well,
I love it.
kiss, I don't know Maya, but kiss her for me.
I will.
And say hi to your husband too. We can't leave him out. And have a great day.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you too.